Hi there. So I asked you guys to upload your efforts at this question last time, and I'll give individual feedback as it comes in. But just in case you were confused as to what was going on, I just thought I'd show you now. So we begin it being a stem and leaf by ordering the information, which should get us to something like this, where we start off not worrying about putting it in order, but just taking each one at a time, crossing it out as we go so we don't make any mistakes. And that keeps going until we get to this position here. I always double check that I've got the right number by counting out how many I've got. Now I've got 6, 7, 3 sevens are 21, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So that's all good. And now I order it, but I remember I must include a key. So I'm going to put the key in first. Pick any value I like. I could just pick the first one. So that means 19, doesn't it? But 19 what? 19 years old. 19 years old. And there's my key. So then all I have to do is write this out again, putting it in order. And I've got the 9 there, but the first of all I've got a 0, and then there's 1 3 and 1 4 and so on, and you should end up with your 21 leaves all like this. So the single digits are here, these are the leaves, and that is the stem. That's why it's called a stem and leaf. And then if we look down at the bottom, it asks us to find the probability. One of the employees is selected at random. Find the probability that they are younger than 30. So as there's 21 of them, it's going to be something out of 21, and there's 2 marks. You get 1 mark just for having that 21. And then we need to know how many are younger than 30. So younger than 30 is all of these, isn't it? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. So that means 9 out of 21. Okay. So now we'll carry on with the rest of the lesson. Right, well, today we're going to be looking at how you design a pie chart, and we're going to start off with one of my favourite things to do, which is looking at our favourite biscuits. Now, I don't understand why this is a difficult thing, because if it was down to me, I would have thought that any pie chart showing favourite biscuits, all you'd need to do is put a chocolate hobnob down on the on the paper, and there you go, there it is. 100% of people should think that the chocolate hobnob is their favourite. However, I hear that I know from bitter experience that you do not all agree with me, even though not personally from you folks, but from other classes I've taught before. I just know this is going to be true. So we can't have just the whole thing taken up by one biscuit. And to help us in what we're going to do, what I'd like you to do is see if you can do the factor creature for 360. Now there are loads of factors for it, and we're going to go in pairs. Now I'm sure you all know, start with 1 and 360, and then 2 and half of 360, and keep going until you've got them all. And you should get to a point where you have this many factors. And this is the reason that 360 is the number of degrees in a full turn, in a circle, is because it is by far the smallest number which has got this many factors. So we can divide it up to make a nice portion pie chart in lots of ways using whole numbers of degrees. So I've got 1 and 360, 2 and 180, then we have 3 times 120. You will have half the number of 2's to make 4, so that's 90. Then 5 times, oh, well, if I did 10 would be 30, it'd be 72 you should have there. 6 will be half the number of 3's, which is 60. 7 is the only number under 10 that doesn't go in. So then it's 8 and half the number of 4's, so half of 90 is 45. 9, and there are 4 9's in 36, so that's 40. 10 and 36. 11 doesn't go, but 12 does. 12 times 3 is 36, so it's 12 times 30. Then we don't have 13 or 14, but we do have 15. 15 being half of 30 will have twice the number of 30s that we had, so that's 15 times 24. And the last one is 18 times 20. So that should come in jolly useful. Now back to our biscuit, and if we had another person come in and say they didn't like chocolate hobnobs, they thought bourbons or something rubbish like that was as good, then you would have to cut it in half, and both of those would have 180 degrees in it. If a third person came in and said, I like custard creams or something rubbish like that, then you would have 3 120s. So each of those would be 120 degrees. If a fourth person came in and said, I agree with Mr. Godber, he's absolutely right, we would have to consider quarters, but hobnobs would go in half of it, and the other two would be 90 degrees, because each of the 4 people are worth 90 degrees. And that carries on like that, so that if we got to a point where there were 12, each would be worth 30 degrees. Right, so my challenge to you is to see if you can come up with the angles that you would need to draw a pie chart for the following data. So pause the video, copy the table down, see how far you can get. So if we add up these, we can work out that 5 plus 7 is 12, 14, 15, 18. We've got 18 people who are wanting to, who have been asked what their favourite biscuit is. And we need to, we are going to need to divide our circle, which is total degrees 360. We need to divide by how many people, or the total frequency that we are concerned with. So 360 divided by 18, we know that 18 times 20 makes 360, means 20 degrees per person in this case who likes whichever biscuit. So that means as each one is worth 20 degrees, that is our angle multiplier. And then all we have to do is 5 times 20 for 100, 7 times 20 for 140, 2 times 20 for 40, 1 times 20 for 20, 3 times 20 is 60. And then to double check we've got it right, we just add all of these up. 4, 8, 10, 16, 1, 2, 3. Now, what I have done is I've also put on a worksheet. Now, I don't want you to attempt everything. I just want you to attempt question 1 and 2 today. Here's question 1 of the 2 questions from the worksheet, which is on there, which we're going to do today. We'll do the rest of them tomorrow, or most of them anyway. So what did Fiona spend the most money on? So you're just looking for the biggest one there. Hopefully you've paused this before watching me do it. So you should have got rent and bills. If you did, give yourselves a mark. What fraction was Fiona's spending on transport? Well, that's a right angle, isn't it? So it's a quarter. Do you know you could have had 90 over 360 as well, because it's 90 degrees out of 360, That's the same as a quarter because there's 4 90s and 360. Fiona spent £320 on transport. How much did she spend in total? Well, if a quarter of her money was on transport, a quarter of it, then 320 is 1/4 of what she did. So if you had each quarter, you'd have 320 there, 320 there, 320 there, 320 there. So what we need is 320 times 4, or just a column of it done. So anyway, 4 times 0, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 3s are 12. So it's £1,280. Right, now the last question is going to be using a bit of what I was showing you when I was talking about the biscuits before. So pause this, have a look at it, copy the table down, but when you do copy the table down, I want you to put an extra little bit in there, and sort of in here we had a multiply by a certain amount, didn't we? And what we have to do is we have to do 360 divided by the total frequency to give us our angle multiplier. So they've told us that we've got 18 peppers. They've told us that mushrooms are half of it. So if mushrooms are half of it, that is a half turn, isn't it? 180 degrees there. So we can say that that is 180 degrees. We can say the ham is 40 degrees. And what we need to work out is the pineapple. We can work out how much the angle of the pineapple is by doing by the fact that we've got 90 degrees for the pepper, and I want to know what this angle multiplier was, but I can do it from here because 18 times what makes 90. Well, if you go through your 18s, 18, 36, add another 18 on gets you to 54, another 18 on gets you to 72, and another 18 gets you exactly 90. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means every person has been multiplied by 5. So every person here has got 5 degrees each. So everything must have been multiplied by 5. Also, the total angles of the sectors should all add up to 360 degrees. We've got 90 and 180, which makes 270. Add 40, 270, add 40 is 310. 310 plus 50 makes 360. So I know that the pineapple angle must be that. Now, if everything's been times by 5 to get there, I need to divide by 5 to find out what that frequency was. 8 times 5 is 40, 10 times 5 is 50, and slightly trickier at the end here, how do we divide 180 by 5? Well, if you divide it by 10 and then double it, you get 18 times 2 is 36. 8 plus 6 is 14, plus 8 is 22. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got 72 people altogether. But what they really wanted was those bits in there. Okay, well, we will carry on with more pie charts next time.